Hey everybody, it's Chrissy Duke. I'm here to talk to you today about human traffickers and what they do online. How do they use the internet and to just break into and expose some of their tactics? So come on over, join in. I want to hear from you. Let me know where you're listening from, what area you're from, if you have any maybe understanding or background in human trafficking. Would love to know that too, and just hear from you. So send me some comments. Let me know that you're here. So come on in, listen on in. We have such an opportunity here today, more than ever, to understand the connection between technology and human trafficking. And it's not only necessary, but it's urgent, considering just the immense rush from COVID-19 and quarantine of people online and how much business has gone online as well. And in this time, we're seeing more people spend their days online, and that's where they're connecting. And we are in a time in our culture, in our life, in this world, where there are images that are online that are, mostly naked women, and that is commonplace. And it's even considered a thing for women to aspire to. And so this jump from what's culturally acceptable creates incredible vulnerabilities for young women and women in general and children online, because we're so close to from what is accepted to revealing and creating a vulnerability online that traffickers are exploiting and they're targeting. And so the internet has become increasingly a virtual red light district. And I want to spend a few minutes today just exposing the traffickers' tactics who are looking to exploit individuals online. And again, I'm Chrissy Duke. I'm the U.S. Director of Beauty for Ashes. We work to combat human trafficking in North Africa. Our primary work is prevention and protection through a transition home, and also with street outreach. And I just want to throw out a disclaimer. I am not an expert on this topic. I'm quite the opposite. I just have done research and looked for information of what is going on online, on the internet, how that involves human trafficking. There's been a movement, a pull of human trafficking and prostitution online. So it's just some of my research that I've done, but I hope the information I've gathered from other people's expertise and experience will help us get a broad picture of how traffickers use the internet and some of the technology that's out there that does combat human trafficking, because the internet is not in itself a bad thing. And so I want to talk about that a little bit too. So in 2012, a news article on Syracuse, New York, had estimated that 90% of the city's prostitution trade had moved online between the years 2009 and 2011. So this was 10 years ago. A 2011 research study found that 88% of sex buyers who were interviewed had purchased women and children for sexual use via internet advertisements. Okay, so that was 88% back in 2011. The truth is, this means that our teens and our tweens are the most vulnerable to human trafficking. That's everywhere in the entire world. That's not just in the US. The most frequently reported age of entry is 15 years old. 1 in 6 in a survey by Thorn survivors entered at the age of 12, even before the age of 12. Okay, so we're talking about the exploitation of women and children online, and that is The average age where they start being exploited is 15. 1 in 6, it's before the age of 12. So we really are talking about an epidemic for our tweens and our teens where they are being exploited and they are vulnerable online. That's why this matters so much, because technology is being used to abuse, exploit, and target and manipulate vulnerable people. And technology is not all bad. We can use the very thing which seems to be advancing the work of exploiters to bring a complete stop to it. So we can't do this without you, and we can't do this with only any one piece of the puzzle. It's not just one organization who's fighting, or one government, or religious institutions, or individuals. It has to be all of us. And so I want to invite you in to this fight against the exploitation of vulnerable people. And that means even our children. It includes our children, because our children are online. And that's happened so rapidly that we haven't quite caught up on the technology to keep them safe. And so it's a worthwhile topic. I want to let you know I'm pulling a lot of data from Exodus Cry, from Thorn, Polaris, and the TIP report, Bark, and other resources. So I'm pulling information from a lot of different places. And I want to share 5 ways that traffickers are using technology, and some ways technology is already fighting back. Okay, so the 5 main ways that traffickers use technology today from my research would be, the first would be recruitment. So recruitment being recruiting women, girls, boys, men into their fold to be exploited. The next is selling. So they sell their victims online. Tracking victims would be the next one. Our 4th would be anonymity. And the 5th is financial. So they use it for financial reasons. So I'm going to go through each one and let you know a little bit more information about how they use them in each category. And this way we can expose what they're doing, and that way we can be more informed about how the internet is being used to exploit people, and also be on the lookout for those things. Okay, so in recruitment, so how does a trafficker recruit victims online? In a survey by Thorn of 260 victims in 2015, only 45% reported meeting their trafficker face-to-face. So 55% said that they met their trafficker via a text, website, or app. Okay? Recruitment happens typically from 3 types of people. So the trafficker is either a stranger, a family member, or a social network like a friend. And the most common is someone that they already know. And it's actually true that the majority of human trafficking is not because someone has been kidnapped and stolen, but it's actually from families who are trafficking their family members, or from friends and someone that they know. And or, for example, a relationship, if there's a male who's exploiting their girlfriend. So that's really common. A majority of victims are women and children. The age range from 12 to 16. And recruitment includes an intentional grooming process. So what does that mean? Traffickers present themselves as a savior who can help a young girl or boy in need. So they find out what their needs are, what their vulnerabilities are, and they are really good at manipulating those and creating a scenario where they can swoop in and do something about it. So they know what to say, and they know how to charm to establish an emotional and dependent attachment. And they can do that really quickly, especially online. And social media makes this process increasingly easier for traffickers to determine the vulnerabilities and accessibility of their targets, because people are putting online exactly where they are and what's going on in their life. The primary platforms traffickers are using are things like Facebook, Instagram, Craigslist, Snapchat, TikTok is really high up there right now. So you just need to be careful, especially if you know your children are using those features, those platforms. Just put some precaution in place, and I'll talk about what those can look like later. So there are companies that will monitor your children's activities and devices. So we can talk about that in a little bit. The next way that traffickers use the internet is through selling. And All in the Family reports technology isn't just used in monitoring and recruitment, but also in the selling of their victims. And that's through primarily advertisements. This is done with online classified websites. It's also done on not classified websites like Craigslist. They just change the wording. A lot of times they will have an ad that will say, looking for a companion. This is not a sexual relationship, just companionship, and they'll describe the person. And so even though they're saying this is not sexual, the advertisement is, that's just to lead you into finding out more. And so that's just the initial advertisement. So that's kind of how they cover it up. There's a lot of other ways, but just one example. Backpage.com in 2010 was shut down. So that was a huge online classified website. And it was shut down in 2018. And since it was shut down, there's other sites that have taken its place. So in a Thorn survey of those entering the life of prostitution or exploitation in or after 2004, the online advertising had increased to 75%. So 75% of them being advertised was happening online. Victims often are doing their own selling online and interacting with customers. Typically, that looks like empowerment. They love the sex trade, and they are owning their own life, and they're proud of it. They're doing their own advertising, but research would suggest once victims come out of the life, that was not true, and that was just for the advertisement. And most of them were being monitored by their trafficker for those types of advertisements. So, but the Thorn survey also said that majority of victims have access to the internet and social media. About 60% of them had access. So that's really interesting because this means that we can also participate in accessing victims to help them and creating technology that will reach out to them, to give them opportunities to get out of the life, to find safety, to reach out and get help. And so there is a lot of opportunity because victims are actually online and they have access to the internet. Tracking is the next way that traffickers use technology and the internet. This disturbing reality is traffickers can track their victims' every single move. That could involve GPS in phones, but there are also cases where traffickers have embedded tracker chips into their victims' bodies. Traffickers can find out exactly where a potential victim, someone that they're grooming, or a current victim may be simply by following their Instagram or Facebook. And especially if you have a GPS on your Facebook or Instagram, if that is activated, then a trafficker can find you exactly where you are. So a really good thing to be thinking about, especially for protecting young people online, is to deactivate and disable the GPS on your devices. Okay. The next way is anonymity. So traffickers use the internet to mask their identities and their true intentions. So it's really easy to do that. You think of all the scam artists out there, and traffickers are some of the best ones. And it's easy to create fake profiles and to gain trust of their victims because their victims don't actually know who they are or their true intentions. So it's easy to create false job advertising, false companies. All of that is really easy online. And they don't have to give their real name. So there are some scam detector things online, but there's not a lot of background checks or authorization for profiles and job listings that are happening. So that's another hole that I think technology could really step in and be the solution. So that leads me to banking as our last way, that the primary way that traffickers use the internet, because online banking is becoming a rapid, easy way to do banking, but because of its ease, it also has very little background checks or authorization or security around it. So in 2015, Europol's Internet and Organized Crime said that 40% of criminal to criminal payments take place on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you might be familiar with that online banking system, is a decentralized digital currency without a central bank. And because it doesn't have a central bank, it really allows it so many very loose freedoms. There's no paper trail. It's encrypted for secrecy, and there's no inspection, no need to give real information when you're setting up yourself on Bitcoin. There's ease of payments happening online and purchases happening online, so that makes it easy to remain anonymous. And there's not a footprint. It doesn't leave a footprint, so there's not a trail, a money trail, or anything for authorities to follow. So again, that would be another opportunity for technology to step in and create the solution, which is more authorization for online banking, more security checks, and more just inspections, really, of who are the people doing the online banking and what is the money going towards. Just even to have a trail, a paper trail of some type. So I know that I kind of ran through those 5 things. So again, the 5 main ways that traffickers are using the internet is recruitment, selling their victims, so advertising, tracking their victims for anonymity, and for financial purposes. And I think technology can really be the solution to a lot of these tactics that the traffickers are using. And we just have to catch up. And so in the meantime, some things we can do that you and I can do to participate in the fight. The first one I want to mention is there is a website called Pornhub. So Pornhub is where you can find unimaginable pornography. For example, there was an article recently out that a man raped 20 women, and the videos were posted to Pornhub of him raping these women. So it's really horrific. And Exodus Cry is made a petition and collecting signatures for this petition to shut down Pornhub. And they already have over 1 million signatures, and every signature matters, because not only has this movement to shut down Pornhub it is going well because they have so many signatures. It's actually expanding the movement to shut down other sites like Pornhub, as well as change laws so that more sites like this cannot continue. So this is huge because we really need this in terms of internet security, to reduce vulnerabilities, to keep people safe from exploitation, is that we have laws in place so that these types of things can't keep happening. So I encourage you, go to exoduscry.com. I think it's .com. I'm going to look if it's .org really quick. Yeah, it's .com. So it's exoduscry.com. And you can go right on there, and I think right at the top of the page, you can sign the petition to shut down Pornhub. So that's a really amazing way for us to get involved and to care and to be involved in changing laws that will keep, traffickers from continuing to do what they're doing online. Some other opportunities are putting monitoring systems on your family's devices to keep them safe. So it's a third party who's monitoring, and their main purpose is to keep kids safe. So it monitors not only for sexual content, but also for bullying, for suicide, for there's a number of different things that they will monitor for, and they will only send parents the things that it pings, like things that are harmful. Okay, so it's a nice way to, as a parent or whoever, maybe you're a leader of teens, and so you can use a third party to monitor, so you're not necessarily reading all of their texts and going through their phone every day, but you're still keeping them safe. And if they were ever contacted by someone who is trying to exploit them, then you would know about it, and that's what's most important. So those apps those companies, one is called bark.us. There are a couple others out there, so you can just search around. But there's also apps you can put on your phone to be safe. One of them is called Be Safe, so it's like it's an easy way to let others know that you're in danger. So you can put the app on your phone, and you have like 5 people that as soon as you click on the app, it sends a message to these 5 people that you're in danger or in need of help or need a phone call or something. So Be Safe would be one of those apps. Circle of 6 is another one. So there's other things happening in technology that are trying to fight back. And so I encourage you to kind of start to explore what that looks like. Go on Exodus Cry, sign the petition, and consider what's missing. Start to consider what's missing. Where are the holes in our technology? Especially if you have a background in technology, just consider where are the holes, and maybe get creative about some solutions, about fighting back to keep our tweens and our teens and our women and children and men safe from the exploitation of these traffickers. Because technology can be a really beautiful thing, and we have a role in making it beautiful and making it safe for everybody. So I'm going to say hi. Hi, Trisha. Thank you for joining us. I want to see who else is on here. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it, you guys. And let me know if you have any questions about anything I said or some of the research. I can also post some of the resources that I found and I used just to talk about this, if that's helpful, if anyone wants to dive a little bit deeper. So let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to respond and talk to you. And thanks for listening. Bye, guys.